Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. All right, I'd like to start with some shout-outs today. And today I am going to speak a little bit longer. This isn't going to be a common occurrence, but there's a few really important things I want to talk about today. So my first shout-out, as always, is to Indosoul and their initiative, the Getting Food to the People Who Need It in Bali. Every pair of sandals sold will provide meals to families in Bali via the restaurant Room for Dessert in Canggu and Ubud. So if you go to www.indosoul.com and use promo code THT, you'll also get a discount. So you'll get a discount and you're going to supply food to Balinese people who are desperately needing it in these very difficult times. Also, huge shout out to Los Angeles-based coffee roasters Tectonic Coffee. I am so stoked to embark on a long-term affiliation with these guys. Just like I'm doing with Indosoul. So I'm very selective with who I want to be affiliated with. It's very much based in ethics. I used to work with founder and CEO Deaton in a cafe almost 20 years ago. He really loved coffee back then, and it's been so rad watching him develop and evolve a coffee company of the highest standard ever since. So ethical practices and quality are at the core of the company. And Deaton is constantly visiting coffee plantations in South America and other parts of the world, going straight to the source to know and understand exactly how his product is grown, transported, roasted, packed, shipped, fair trade, everything, quality, clean coffee. He sent me some bags of his award-winning Tectonic Colombian and Ethiopian blends. Just epic. I've got more coffee than I can handle. So, DM me on Instagram if you want to stop by my place and have a coffee with me. It's a bit random, but yeah, maybe, who knows? Anyway, they ship worldwide. So go to www.tectoniccoffee.com. That's TECTONIC coffee.com and use promo code THT for a discount on their coffee as well. So, Carmen, how are you?
I'm great, Shannon. Thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
I'm so stoked to have met you right now. Let's roll. Here we go.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Today's guest is Carmen Greentree. Carmen is a wife, mother, ex-professional surfer, healer, and most recently, author of her book of memoirs, A Dangerous Pursuit of Happiness. Carmen has been in pursuit of her highest truth and purpose all her life. From a depressed and anxious young girl, she became a world-class pro surfer, traveling the world and riding the ecstatic waves of fame and fortune. An underlying story of self-development, which started in her teens, buoyed her along, always pointing towards being her saviour. Carmen took a deep dive into spirituality at 21 and headed to India to study with the Dalai Lama. Her quest for enlightenment was brutally derailed when she was abducted, had her passport and money stolen, and was raped, extorted, abused, and kept as a prisoner on a houseboat in Kashmir for 2 long months. Her journey back to healing and wholeness allowed her to find herself and forgive herself with a depth so profound it set the scene for the rest of her life. Since then, Carmen has been on a journey of unconditional love, creating a space of support and compassion for all who cross her path. Today, Carmen is with me to share her journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Carmen Greentree, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shannon.
Wow. Tears before the podcast has started. That's a first.
That's great.
Sorry about
beautiful.
that. I'm sorry.
Never apologise. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's real and raw and it's touching.
Life is raw.
It is. It's really raw.
You know, like I was saying in your bio, I really don't believe in coincidence, and your journey. I mean, you just have to read the bio to be blown away. It's very, I guess, engaging immediately. How do you think like it's shaped you into the person you are right in this present moment?
The first thing that comes to mind is that I'm whole. And what I mean by whole is I've been able to make not just peace with all the darkness, but actually embrace it with absolute unconditional love and actually see the value and the wisdom in all experiences, good or bad, all emotions, good or bad.
Wow. So do you feel the extremes of emotion more than you ever have?
I've always felt extremes of emotion.
So like really high love feelings and then really low feelings as well?
Absolutely. Oh, well, in my book you'll read all about how low for a very, very long time it was. But one thing I've learned is that was a gift in itself in a way that because I felt so deeply, I still am so deeply sensitive to all because I'm an empath, to all the emotions and my environment and the people around me. Well, that meant that I was also open to all the joy, all the love, all the nirvana and the bliss and the excitement. So I'm a full advocate of feeling to the fullest, becoming super sensitive and actually embracing all of the range of sensations.
Sorry, I'm losing my mind because, I say this a lot on the podcast. There's these common themes that emerge, and I had a guest, his name was Edward Dangerfield, and he was a breathwork specialist, and he talked about the same thing as exactly what you said. He said, I was super sensitive and thought it was this weakness. And he goes, and I was an empath, and then I've learned over the years that it's actually my superpower, and it's not something to be ashamed of.
No, exactly right. That's right. I'm actually working towards always becoming more sensitive.
Are you?
Yeah. I too felt like it was a weakness, and mostly because other people told me you're too sensitive. Toughen up. What's wrong with you? There's no such thing as depression. You're making it up. And once I really realized that I could touch the unknown, I could touch the hidden, I could touch things that other people couldn't touch because of my sensitivity, it all did a 180, and that was the end. I just stopped listening to them and just trusted my heart and allow myself to feel. And that was the key, allowing myself to fully feel and not be afraid of feeling. It's not going to hurt you. It doesn't. I was suicidal for a long time, depressed for a long time, but when you feel it and truly give yourself permission to feel it, it doesn't actually hurt you. You think it might hurt you. You fear that, but once you do it, you realize that it doesn't hurt you.
Well, in that case, how do you prevent, or how do you manage feelings of, like, how do you stop it from overwhelming you though?
I don't mind overwhelm because that's another emotion, and I enjoy and embrace overwhelm. I mean, I have over the last 3 to 4 years of my life, something has changed and evolved, and my life has turned upside down in a positive way. And I experience, and this is going to sound really crazy and out there maybe to most people.
Be crazy and out there.
But I sometimes could just be walking along in the sunshine and I will literally have tears of grace and bliss overwhelming me coming out of my eyes, and no one's around, and I'm just in nirvana and I'm overwhelmed by love. But it's from the inside out, like I'm getting a hug from the universe. And I want that for everybody. This is what I believe, that the world will be a better place if we all can achieve that experience inside of ourselves.
Well, how do you cope then when it's the opposite?
I do exactly the same. I allow myself to, not that long ago, just pops into my mind, something happened and I felt depressed for a day. I felt really down and depressed, and I just went, oh, well, I'm going to totally embrace and absolutely love that today I am depressed. And I really just felt it. And I got so much out of that experience. It really took me to the core of what I needed. That That's actually a really you've helped me highlight something that I would love to share with everybody, is that when I'm triggered, and what I mean by triggered is, say, emotionally upset or frazzled in some way, I've actually been able to work out that when I feel it and listen to what it's telling me, 99% of the time, there's a need inside that feeling, that emotion. And it's a need that is not being met. And it's a need that sometimes I think I can't meet, or sometimes I think someone else should meet. But once I realize that I can meet it, because we can always find a way to meet our needs. And once I realize it's not anyone's responsibility to meet my needs, it's up to me, then all of a sudden I meet my need, and the emotion starts moving through me, and I have free-flowing energy again, and I feel amazing because I'm now meeting the need.
So if the emotion is moving through you, it's like it's clearing a blockage?
Exactly. Perfect. Spot on.
No way.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it like that. I feel I can speak from personal experience that I want to avoid pain, you know.
And most people do, and that's what I was running away from. And my life did not stop being painful until I stopped running away from my pain.
Pardon me. It's very interesting. So listen, we started strong.
Maybe we should just end it there, because that's pretty good.
All right, done.
See you guys.
We started strong. I think I sparked it off with my little emotional outburst, but this is how it's meant to go. But listen, I want to look. Let's go back to where you grew up. Let's get all that stuff out of the way. So, where'd you grow up?
Shell Harbour.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. And how would you describe your childhood?
I suffered. And, mum and dad didn't know, and it wasn't their fault. My brother had muscular dystrophy, and he got diagnosed when he was really young. And my mum and dad obviously were extremely overwhelmed. I couldn't even imagine. I mean, I love my kids to death, and if anything was wrong with them, I would be devastated. And, so you just caught me off guard then.
Sorry.
That's okay. So it was rough. I felt as though I was always being left in the cold, left in the dark, because for a long time I didn't know what was going on, and I think my mum and dad wanted to protect me, but also because of the overwhelm as well, that they didn't really talk to me about it. So I was and I mean I talked a lot last night in a different podcast about this angle, but I didn't get a chance to speak about another angle. And this was something that no one in my life back then would have been able to help me with. There was no one around, but I'm a psychic. I'm an empath. I'm a highly sensitive being. And I didn't know what it was called back then. My parents didn't meditate or go to meditation or know anything about that sort of thing. So as a kid, I was picking up stuff, picking up information, picking up emotions, I was seeing two worlds all the time. And it was very confusing because the world that I was in was literally upside down, back to front, inside out, from the world that I actually could almost once again, it's another crazy talk, but it feels like I remember being somewhere else where it wasn't like that. It was the opposite to that, and it was better. It was beautiful.
But as a young person, you didn't understand what was going on?
No, not at all.
So
no.
you were confused.
I was very confused, and I was harboring probably, almost definitely, not just my own emotions, but my parents' emotions. That their obviously their sadness and their depression over what was happening with my brother, and their desperation to help as well. So, I feel like I was the one that held everything together emotionally. So, and no one, I didn't really feel like there was anyone that could help me. So, and then when I went to school, I tried to talk to friends. I tried to talk to teachers and counselors. And I got the strangest looks, like I was some sort of alien. And I always felt like some alien.
Because you were just expressing the thoughts and the feelings and the way you were seeing the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did that lead to feelings of isolation?
Oh, very, very isolated, very lonely. Yeah, I just felt deeply lonely, yeah.
And do you feel like that loneliness was the trigger for depression?
Yes, I do. And yeah, definitely. I think that I think because of my childlike perspective, because I obviously couldn't see it the way I can see it now, at the time I didn't believe anyone loved me. And the strongest feeling I had was that I'd been plonked on the earth and abandoned and forgotten.
And didn't fit?
And didn't fit. Yeah, exactly.
Do you feel like you fit now?
I feel like no, I don't feel like I fit now, but I feel like I'm here for a reason. Yeah.
Like you found a purpose?
Yeah.
Would motherhood be that reason?
No.
Beyond motherhood?
Way beyond motherhood, yeah.
Wow. I can tell. It's funny, before I moved to Bali, I'd hear people talk about energies. They've got an energy. And, we commonly people joke about it. I don't like their vibe. That's a bad vibes, good vibes, whatever. When I moved to Bali, a lot of people who'd lived there for a long time went, listen, Shannon, there's an energy on this island. Just be careful, And it's, it's on tectonic plates. It's seismic activity. There's earthquakes every day, little tremors, And also the Balinese are so spiritual, and I now 100% believe in the power of energies. And I feel like just the act of living in Bali has made me because I acknowledge it now, it's made me a little bit more attuned to other people's energies. So I'm building up to a compliment here. You ready? As soon as I walked in the room, I felt like this really warm energy off you. There you go.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and I it's funny because people would dismiss that as, that's crazy talk. Oh, whatever. But the irony is about it is that mobile phones use energy and are radiating energy. TVs are radiating energy. You listen to music, it's radiating energy. So who says there can't be a spirit energy? Why do people want to question that? I don't know.
Well, even quantum physics now are proving that everything actually has a wave-like energy to it when you get to that microscopic quantum level, that all particles actually act as waves. And love has a frequency, anger has a frequency, every single emotional state has its own frequency. And here's the beautiful thing. If you can feel my loving vibe, that means that you are actually in a very similar range of frequency, because if you weren't, you wouldn't be able to feel my loving vibe.
And
because like attracts like, frequency attracts frequency. And if it's opposite, it'll repel each other.
And you can effectively change frequencies of someone.
Do you know how to do that?
No.
Just change your emotional state.
You make it sound so easy.
Well, when you're triggered and you've got something really big, like, what you're going through at the moment, then you might not be easily able to access a very great state. But if you are, say, just, you kicked your toe and whatever, and you're having a bad day and it's not like a big deal really, you just kind of got the grumps, you probably really quite quickly can easily actually think the right thoughts, or actually better yet, forget about thinking, go into the heart and feel the love that you have for someone you love.
Right.
And feel that for as long as it takes. It usually only takes a few minutes. And before you know it, you're actually starting to change your frequency and you'll start to feel lighter and more connected to love.
I can't believe you're talking about this stuff because I've just recently read a book by this guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he's a scientist, but he actually believes in that you can change your DNA by changing the frequency of your atoms. He's a quantum physicist. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about this notion of, we often talk about the chakras, and I've always dismissed that as some hippie bullshit, right? Whatever. But he actually, the chakras are real because they're actually, they're nerve bundles. So you talked about the throat chakra. Well, that's actually a nerve bundle or a gland. And then you've got the various ones through the spine of the body, but in each location is scientifically and physiologically a nerve bundle. So it's like if you are changing the emotion. I feel a bit stupid here, but if you're actually like concentrating on those nerve centers and putting a thought and an emotion into that nerve center, well, then you're effectively changing the DNA of your body. So it's like it's actually like physically changing you through your thoughts.
Absolutely. And more importantly, your feelings.
Your feelings, right. And I don't think I explained it as well as I could have. I probably should read that book again, actually.
You did a great job. No, it's fine.
But I guess like when I think for the skeptic, when that sort of information is presented scientifically, I don't know, it seems a little bit easier to digest.
And I think that's what Joe Dispenza is doing so well, is that he has the science to back everything up.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I have heard of him. Yeah. I can tell you a really out there story if you like. It's probably going to freak most people out.
Be out there.
About a month ago, and I diarise everything, so I've got the proof if you want to see it. But about a month ago, I do a lot of astral traveling, lots of astral traveling. And a month ago, I'd never really ever paid any attention. I mean, you know how you're drawn to people. It's nothing personal, but Joe Dispenza was never someone that I was just like, oh, I'm interested in working with. But a month ago, I was astral traveling and I found myself in some off-world different place where there was different technology, different everything. And I was having a conference with 3 people, Joe Dispenza, myself, and somebody else who I won't mention at this stage. But I woke up with all this information that we'd been having this conference about. It went for about an hour. It was as clear as a conversation, and I know the difference between an astral dream where I'm having the out of body travel experience versus just a dream. And it was mainly because it's just like you and I talking now. I could literally touch his skin if I wanted to, and I could recall word for word what happened in the hour. And I woke up and I wrote down all this information that I'd received and shared it with some people that were appropriate to share the information with. But I thought, wow, what an interesting coincidence that you bring Dr. Joe Dispenza up, and I'm not even really that drawn to him, but I'm working with him in the astral planes.
My God. Okay, you're going to have to explain astral travel. Is it like dream state?
Yeah, so every single one of us do actually leave our body. I mean, if you want to go back to the quantum, when we switch off, I guess in a way, we're going back to that wave-like state, and our spirits can go, well, our spirits can actually be, I mean, this is quite a deep conversation, but our spirits can be active on so many different levels, even when we're not asleep. But yes, when we're sleeping, we do a lot of out-of-body travel, and a lot of us don't remember it, but I do, so yeah.
Wow. Oh, it's okay. Anyway, listen. Okay.
Have I gone too far? I'm probably going to freak everybody out. No one's going to buy my book now because they think I'm a weirdo, and I might get thrown into some loony bin.
No, not at all. It's in fact like it's just so in line with my past guests. I mean, if you want to go back to a few of my back episodes and listen to Christian Stern, he talks about the exact same thing. Edward Dangerfield, Stephanie Smith. Edward Dangerfield was really interesting because, you said, I'm a highly sensitive being. Well, during the podcast, he started going, I'm a HSP. And I thought it was some really technical term, and finally went, dude, what's a HSP? And he goes, highly sensitive person. I was like, I think I am too. But I actually think we all are. I think we all are sensitive to a degree. I just think my theory on it now is that this modern world that we're forced to live in gives us so many opportunities to numb out, whether it's, alcohol and drugs are the most obvious one. But then I think a lot of us numb out on things like consumerism, food, mobile phones, technology, sex, whatever. And I really fundamentally think that the problem with our world is that we're becoming too disconnected from the environment and in ourselves because of this mass consumer society that we're meant to live in. What do you think of that analysis? Too deep?
No, it's great.
So
I was just writing a little post, a really short one this morning on Instagram and Facebook, as you do. You've got to do that sort of social media stuff. Not my favourite thing to do, but
same.
I wrote, I can't remember what I said, but it was about being hard, I believe, I was just reflecting on what's happening with the COVID and the pandemic across the whole globe and all the changes, this upside down experience that we're all having, and it's affecting so many of us. And it occurred to me that on the flip side, when we become so hardened by what's going on, we can actually crack open and reveal what we really are inside, who we really are inside. And so sometimes what might be happening on the planet right now, what I believe is happening is that all of the bad stuff is getting squeezed and pressurized, and it's going to crack and break away. And we're going to have a brand new world, brand new change. People like you doing these types of podcasts where people are getting a voice, people are getting to say what they want to say without someone editing it or changing it or having an agenda, just free speech. You know, eventually we're all going to wake up. We're all going to actually realize that we can make a change together, and it's going to be beautiful. That's what I believe is going to happen.
I feel it. And I also feel, I love that analogy you use. Like, it's almost like you sort of said, like the harder we get, the more hardened. It's actually easier to crack. Yeah. But when you're soft, you become more malleable and you can adapt. Oh man, this is deep. I didn't expect it to go this deep so quick. But listen, let's get back to some other questions, because I want to get to know you and, like, you know, where you started. So, you know, your early days were tricky with your brother, which is totally understandable. And I can imagine that you would have felt, your parents' attention was probably redirected, not to their fault.
No,
obviously.
not at all.
Yeah.
No.
And then, how would you describe your time at school? Like, were you a good student?
Oh, yeah, I was, straight A, easy peasy. I mean, the problem with me was that I would get bored because I am lucky to be one of those people that can absorb things really quickly, and by the time the teacher had finished saying what to do, I'd finished it, and then I'd get in trouble because I was bored and I didn't want to be there. Who wants to be there as a kid? We're supposed to be running around outside, having a good time.
Don't get me started.
I mean, the teachers are going to hate me for saying this, but I tell my kids all the time, only believe half of what the teachers tell you.
Totally. I'm a teacher and I agree. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother tangent I could go on.
Yeah. I don't want to upset everybody tonight, though.
Upset them? No. That's part of the reason I moved to Bali to work at the Green School, because they have they wanted to challenge that approach.
Yeah.
And they realised very quickly that you just want to make schools really nice places to be.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, they built this beautiful campus in the jungle. So they're around.
Yes.
So even if the curriculum wasn't that good, like, the kids actually wanted to be at school, as opposed to, you know, these state schools with big metal fences with spikes on top and brick walls and concrete. And, like, who actually, even if they've got the best curriculum in the world, what young person wants to be in that environment? You know, anyway. Anyway, I could go on a huge tangent. Did you have any teachers that really stood out for you as a young person?
I did, actually.
Why?
Mr. McDonald from U2, and he's going to listen to this eventually. He was nice. I think he was like us, sensitive and open-hearted, and I always felt like I just liked being around him. In fact, I used to dream about that he would adopt me one day because he was just so nice and happy. And I just didn't, I felt so isolated in my life. So, it was great. U2 was great. I mean, we bonded too because I was always into sports. I was into swimming, carnivals, and he was a sports, I think, like the head sports person. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, but he's the only person that really stands out. The rest.
And you just liked his sensitivity and his kindness.
Yeah.
Kindness?
Yeah, I'd say that he was.
So when did you start surfing? Like, how old were you?
I was 14 when I started surfing.
Nice.
So quite late, actually, considering what I ended up doing with it.
Yeah. And you just took to it straight away?
Yeah. I mean, it was my escapism.
Was it?
Yeah. So, obviously there was, I mean, how can you not love, if you're a surfer, which you know, but for the people that aren't surfers listening to this, it's one of those things that it just gives you a thrill. It gives you endorphins. It gives you empowerment. And it's only the surfer knows the feeling. So, yeah, I fell in love. Love at first sight, to be honest. And it was right around when, like the hormones kick in. And funny enough, I write in the book about a boy that I fell madly in love with, who was a surfer. And then that's the reason for why I got into surfing. And as soon as I started surfing, over boys, I just want to surf. That's it. Every day, all day, just surfing.
But given the feelings you were having as a young person, did the ocean provide that solace and, just relaxed you and things like that as well? It made you feel calm?
You know what's interesting is that you'd think that, and I did hope that, but I'm going to be really honest here. I don't think I learned how to relax until about 3 years ago in my life.
No way.
I really don't think I actually learned how to relax. I was such a highly competitive, highly strung, highly anxious, frantic person that surfing definitely soothed me in a sense, but it more gave me a channel to push all this huge energy that I had. It was this powerhouse of energy. It was negative, but it was like I had to put it somewhere. So I just used it to go crazy, and I did. I went crazy with it.
It's just, that energy release.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, did you start competing straight away?
Yeah, pretty much straight away, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then chase the QS for a while?
Yeah, so I just did every single competition locally and then built up to state and then built up to all the competitions in Australia, and then I did some of the QS for 1 year, and then the next year I went all out on as many as I could.
Really?
Yeah.
So was it one of those situations where you found something that just came to you quite naturally, and then did you birth a dream of being on the CT?
Yeah, I was always.
Like a lot of surfers do.
Look, I've been the kind of person that doesn't matter what I'm doing, I have to be the best at it.
Okay.
I wanted to be the first female Prime Minister of Australia. Epic. I wanted to be, there's so many things I wanted to be. So surfing, it was only natural that I was going to want to be the world champion because that's just my personality. Well, it was. I'm not like that at all anymore, actually, to be honest. I don't want to be anyone but me. I just want to be me.
Yeah.
Just chill, just how I am. If the world doesn't love me for how I am, well, I love me, so that's okay.
You're enough.
Yeah, I'm enough.
I love that. Someone said that to me recently. They said, if you did nothing else in your life and was just there, that's enough.
Yeah, yeah.
And, I look around and I feel like we have a lot of people, I mean, myself included totally, is that we're striving. And in the meantime, we're missing out, aren't we, on the present moment?
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah, so, can you just quickly describe, when you were competing all the time, describe being on the QS. Is it a bit of a slog?
Yeah, it is.
I've heard that.
It is, yeah. You're living in and out of a suitcase. You're sharing accommodation with people that aren't really your friends. You're kind of friendly with them, but then you're also competitive with them. And, just like high school, there's the element of bitchiness that goes on and all the dramas. And politics. So I didn't really politics as well, exactly, especially when it comes to sponsorship. And sometimes I used to think the judging a little bit too, I don't know. But it was...
Judges never get it right, ever.
But I mean, it wasn't just for me. I saw it for others as well. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, that part of it wasn't that great, but I had my eye set on one thing, and I'm the kind of person that can slog anything out if I think it's going to get me what I think I want. And that's been one of my biggest downfalls in life, as well as one of the things that have given me the most wisdom as well, is that how can I put this? It's I've lost the point.
I know. I see what you're getting at, and I guess what I'm curious about is, did you finish high school or finish school?
I did, yeah.
And then as soon as school finished, what was that transition from high school to adulthood like those first couple of years? Was it just competition
straight on
and
to
surfing?
Just kept going. I was doing comps as much as I could through all of my high school, and then I moved straight to Queensland pretty soon after high school.
Yeah.
And that's when I started training with Kenny Reamers for every single day for the first year. And then after that, I started training with Stephanie Gilmore, and our coach was Eddie Valadez.
Oh, wow.
So
on the Gold Coast?
On the Gold Coast, yeah. So that was pretty awesome to train with Steph every day, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And so at what stage did you feel like that inner feeling, like to that desire to live your personal truth and find your sense of spirituality started to like really build up in you? Was it already there? Were you doing it as you went along, or?
I had no idea what it was called, but I can trace it right back to it when I was a kid. But when I started to be able to put my finger on it and see examples of it and meet people that could reflect that back to me, that was in Hawaii. And that was a very, very special sacred time that I've had there. 3 months I spent with Shaylin, Jake, Chloe, Yetta, just the 5 of us, and we all hung out every day, and we had so many amazing adventures, and we all had that same sensitive, spirited. Well, I didn't at the time. I mean, I had this spirited feeling underneath it all, but I mean, I went, yeah, that's a bit of a long story, but they reflected what was deep and hidden in me that I wanted to bring out that I couldn't. And so it got me started on the search for how to get rid of all the muck, the rot, the depression, the suicidal tendencies. I had to clear all that. I had to move through that so that I could actually just embrace that underneath that I too was, we all, deep down, we all actually are a spirit that's connected to joy and love. That's essentially what the human being is. And we're muddied up, and it's not all of our own fault because we've been programmed from since we were babies, all sorts of things, and we've been taught all sorts of things, and we've been told not to do this and told to do that, and you're lucky half of us survived.
Is prayer and meditation been a big part of your story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What
about yoga?
I did do a lot of yoga, but it's not the thing that I would say that has other than, I mean, it's wonderful. I do love yoga. But for me, it doesn't really have any sort of weight in comparison to breath work, meditation, and just being in nature, to be honest. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I was like reading in your bio when it said you was talking about how you were going to India to study with the Dalai Lama. How does that come about?
Well, I was on a search for the tools that would get me to enlightenment. At the time, I was fixated on this thing called enlightenment, and I met this lovely girl who'd been to India, and she told me that it was safe and fine, and that she'd been to all these ashrams, and she'd had a really good time learning about breath work and meditation and yoga, and that it was basically she said to me, and she had a great energy. I really was drawn to her. She said to me, if you want this, go to India. That's where you're going to find it. You're not going to find it here. And I just went with that. And, it's a shame that I went with that in one sense. But at the same time, I don't take anything back because I would not want to change what I've learned and what, where I'm at today.
It was just part of your journey.
Yeah.
And so, so you went to India to study with the Dalai Lama, seeking enlightenment, which I'm assuming that would have been a lot of meditation with Buddhist monks, etc. And tell me, when you got off the plane in India, right, and, you see the sights, the sounds, the smells, describe that for me. Well, what's it like? I've never been there.
My experience gets harrowing at this point. It gets really heavy and really from pretty much the moment that I step out of, into the Delhi airport.
Really? It started immediately?
Yeah, I had a really long flight, a couple of stopovers, and I'm pretty sure that it was it's hard to remember all the details, but I know that I hadn't slept for a really long period of time. I think it was way over 24 hours. And then I arrived there at 11 o'clock at night. So I was expecting just to find a hotel as quick as I could and then get a good night's sleep so I could recenter, recoup, get my wits about me and find my way. because I've traveled so much in third world countries. You know, I've done a lot of travel by myself. I thought, oh, I've got this. It's fine. I can work it out. You know, it'll be fine. But I didn't plan for what India was about to hit me with. I was so wrong. So, the hotels were slim picking. And when I finally basically got a cab and found a really desperate hotel, the hotel had bed bugs all the way through it. There was rats. There wasn't even sheets on the bed. There was just a mattress with bed bugs on it. That was it. And the shower, when you turned it on, had rusty water that stank, and there was a hole in the wall that you could literally fall out from up a third-story building out onto the floor, onto the concrete below. And it was noisy, and it was smelly, and people were mean and like rude, just
really?
rude, not mean, but rude, like just kind of abrupt and kind of not helpful. Because I've been to Bali. And I went to Bali before all the bombings, and Bali was so friendly and so welcoming, and you could trust anybody with anything back then. And I kind of just was very naive. I mean, I was 22, and I look back and think, oh, if I could go back in time, I'd slap myself a few times. But yeah, I expected that people would be helpful to tourists, but they weren't. So, you know, it was just a horrible experience straight off the bat. Really horrible. Yeah.
Right.
Bright lights everywhere. And it was
just chaos.
Yeah, chaos.
Traffic chaos.
I was overwhelmed straight away and tired and hungry, and it was just a mess.
Now, listen, like, I have to get to this, but, and please, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, I obviously want to really be as respectful as possible, but I feel compelled to ask you. So, like, you know, your time in India did take a turn, and like, would you like, and we can get to how that did take a turn. But what I'm actually interested in is before it took a turn, like, and you were sort of describing how you didn't like the hotel and stuff, but like, would you mind describing like the moments leading up to the abduction? So the day things started going really bad. Can you remember that day?
Oh, I've written extensively about that, and it is a really, really long story as well. So
be long. I'm okay, unless it's up to you or whatever you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ruin it for the readers as well.
Sure. So just a basic summary.
Yeah. So I mean, what I can say is, I went to a dodgy tourist operation, but I didn't know that. They said they were a very government tourist office, and so, you know, that was good. Everyone said, make sure you go to a government tourist office. So I made sure I went to one of those, and they were a scam artist, and they sent me on the wrong path. I said I want to go to Dharamsala. I had it all mapped out. I had my Lonely Planet.
Yeah.
I had I knew exactly where the bus stop was. I knew exactly where the Dharamsala, where His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Okay, so you wanted to go to a temple?
Yeah, to where he is,
like
in his ashram.
Ashram, yeah.
And that was it. I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want. And they just, they sent me on the wrong path.
Did they supply like a driver, a transport, and then
No, I ended up going on a plane so far out of the way. So if you're looking at a map from Delhi, you go up and to the right is Dharamsala, and they took me twice as far out to the left up towards the Himalaya mountains to a place called Kashmir, right near the Pakistan border.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it was. That's where I met Rafik, who was my abductor.
Right, so I was going to say, at what point did you realise, like, okay, something's not right here?
When he forced me to give him my passports, tickets, bank cards, and that's when this feeling started sinking in that I was in trouble.
Wow. And like those feelings of just despair and isolation and confusion. Wow. Fear. So like, did you go into like a survival mode?
Not at that point, no. I'm a bit of a fighter.
Okay.
You know, so I didn't. I've you know, because I've been through so much. At that point, I'd already been through a lot of depression and pain. So I can cop a lot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until it wasn't until I actually exhausted all my options of escaping this boat that I realized, when I actually realized that I've run out of options. There's nothing I can do now. Like I'm literally in God's hands now. It's up to the universe whether I live or die, or it's up to Rafig what he wants to do.
Was he aggressive?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And basically said, "You're with me now. You can't go anywhere."
Oh, he wouldn't let me go. He used to lie to me all the time and tell me that, you can go to the Dalai Lama, and then he just wouldn't do it.
And this went on for
2 months.
And did you? What were you doing the whole time? Were you looking for ways to escape?
Yes. So that's sort of. I exhausted every single thing I could think of, but then at that, like I said, you know, once I got to that point where I realized that I couldn't, it wasn't going to be me. There wasn't a way for me.
Yeah.
That I started to give up, but then I started to leave my body. I actually started to not really exist in my body.
Because that was one of my questions. Like, what strategies did you use to cope?
I made stuff up in my head.
Like it was going to be okay.
One of my girlfriends said that because I was so messed. I mean, even now, even this morning, I still have moments where I look back at what happened, and it sinks in a bit more. I realize wow. I mean, what I went through. I'm still to be honest, I'm still actually comprehending to what extreme and what depth I went through, and how much I even minimized it myself, and I guess
was it just
shock?
Was it just the whole time various types of abuse? And please, you don't need to go into details, but various types of abuse,
sexual abuse.
Were they trying to extort, take money off you?
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
like from home and things like that. Were you able to make contact with people back home, or
only Rafig forced me to contact my father for
money.
He wanted me to ask for things like a fishing rod and money and things like that. But I was able to sort of stop it at the fishing rod.
Okay.
And because I didn't want that kind of implication with my family as well. The whole thing is really weird, and I go into some very deep details about the psychology of that experience for me. Yeah.
But basically, just doing what you had to do to survive and control the situation the best you could.
Yeah, and I even painted pictures of rosy coloured glasses of the whole thing.
Like it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's great. These people are lovely. They make great food.
Wow.
And that's the part where I look back and think, wow, that I went to that extent to survive, where I would actually tell myself that this was good.
Yeah, right. yeah. Well, I mean, that's a survival mechanism in itself, right? Mm. Okay, so and then I'm assuming that you got through this period and you were able to leave and get home.
Yeah. So my friend Kat, she had a dream.
Yeah.
And once again, just to sort of paint a picture, I told my parents and I told my friends, and I even said goodbye to my friends and family because I was expecting to not return for years. I sold everything I owned, put everything that was valuable in 2 boxes, backpack on my back, and I said, I'm not coming back until I've learnt what I want to learn, and even if it takes me years. So no one was expecting me to come home, and also, people knew that I travelled so much on my own that it wasn't normal for anyone to think that anything was wrong. But Catherine had a dream that I needed help, and she was able to get on the phone to the embassies and the police in Australia and the embassies and the police in India, and they were able to just keep following the dots and connecting everything, and we all orchestrated a rescue.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to learn about the immediate recovery. So obviously there's trauma there.
There's not anymore, fingers crossed.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes something might come up and I can nip it in the butt. But there was a lot of trauma.
Like PTSD even?
Yeah.
And how, I mean, over the years, how do you manage it? Through your meditation practices or through?
Through a lot of the therapies that I've studied and learned and that I now practice with other people as well. So that's helped too, yeah.
Do you mind telling me what they are?
Yeah, so I've done everything from NLP, which I started out with counselling and NLP, a little bit of basic psychology, and then I moved on to things like what else did I do? I've got a long list. It's on my website. It's huge.
Yeah.
So I've done all the theta healing.
Okay.
And I've done all of some more psychic development stuff. And I've found this other technique that's called unconditional love healing therapy. And that actually it sounds a little bit like fluffy maybe, but it actually is incredibly detailed and very efficient. Yeah, it's a very good therapy.
Like, how does it work exactly? Like, because I've heard of a similar thing where, like instead of trying to work out the complexities and details, you just try to find an emotional love connection.
Yeah.
With either yourself or someone else, and then from there build that foundation and try and work out the details. Is that the sort of basic premise of it, or?
So it's kind of what we started out with. It's sort of full circle back to that. It's like the most important thing that I've learned as a therapist is that you have to love whatever's going on for that person unconditionally. So it's about loving any part of that person that hurts in any way. And it's about teaching, it's about showing the person how to actually love that part and not push it away.
Right.
Yeah.
Of themselves or their partner? Or could relate to any of those things?
Exactly. But most of the time it's all, I stress in a loving way that everything is a reflection of what's going on inside. So it's really important to always look at where is the part in me that is attracting the situation.
Wow.
And then healing that part first. And sometimes what you'll find is that the other person will change because you've deactivated that vibration. But sometimes they don't. But then what's beautiful is that you'll find that if you do that, instead of feeling resentment towards your partner over an issue, you now actually just have compassion and love for them, even if they don't change.
And that seems to inspire reciprocated compassion and love.
Sometimes.
And then when it doesn't?
You just have to choose to love them unconditionally. Well, you don't have to do anything, but you can choose to unconditionally love them for the choices that they're making at the time and hold the hope for them that they will stop hurting,
tolerance,
that they will heal too one day.
Yeah. So you're basically saying like we have a part in all of our hurt, and like it is very easy to blame other people for our hurt, but you're saying that you actually go within and look at your part in it, even if something has been done to you that's not nice. Like you're saying that, being honest with yourself and like looking at your piece in that.
Absolutely.
Wow. And that takes a lot of courage, I think.
Yeah.
And truth, self-truth.
Yeah. And it can also be extremely painful because we have to face things about ourselves that we might not want to face, because often we find that when let's say we're in a social situation and we're hanging out with 10 different people and there's one person and there's no reason for why you should hate that person, but you've just got this issue with this person, you don't like this particular behavior and you wish they would change.
Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you that you've actually got that inside yourself and you just can't see it. And that can hurt. It bruises the ego.
Wow. It's true. So like what you don't like about him is the reflection of you.
Absolutely.
See, that's hard to hear. I think that'd be hard to hear for a lot of people. It's so easy to blame, I think. Carmen, some gold. This is just gold. Now listen, I'm really curious about I'm sitting across from a person that seems very much in touch with who they are and living their own truth, and I really admire and respect that. And I guess what I'm curious about now, like, I mean, I see a lot of contentedness. You seem very content. You have a beautiful family. I want to know, like, what's next for you? Do you have any visions for the future, or are you just day by day right now?
Oh, no, I have a lot of vision for the future. Yeah, I have a vision that I can share my wisdom about unconditional love with as many people that want to learn.
Okay.
You know, I really believe that we have, just like, you know, the word God has been muddied by all sorts of different religions in all sorts of different ways, or the word, or, you know, the word money, you know, the word love is now a dirty four-letter word as well.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is we use the word love so recklessly as if it means something, but in a way where there's no power in it, that it's not real. So for just for as an example, it's not a real example, but, you know, a mother is, you know, telling her son that he's not allowed to do this and that because she's worried about him. That's not really love. That's, you know, if she's saying it in an aggressive, mean, angry way, she thinks in her mind she's loving, but she's not feeling love in her being, and she's not actually being love. And when you're being love, what it would look more like, look, I'm really worried, but I trust you. And what is it about this that you want to do? And I would have a loving tone, and I would be coming from a place of love. So I want the people that are interested to actually redefine love and actually start to change their behavior and actually embrace true unconditional love.
Right.
With their relationships, with their friends and family and society.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at our society and all the family breakdown that we see, I think that has led to, like, the degradation of our westernized societies, because there is a lack of unconditional love in the home, and then that actually then spreads out into the rest of the community and then the world, and it seems to perpetuate more hurt because I don't know. So it's really important.
On that note, even before I became a mum, I was aware of this, but especially when I became a mum, I had this really strong feeling that a mother almost has the most important job on the planet, and that is to raise their child with unconditional love. Because if we raised all of the children on the planet in that sensitive, loving way, then we would have a future generation of beings that felt loved, felt free, felt safe, felt sovereign, felt healthy and well. And I would like to see that we create a culture based on honouring motherhood, flipping it all around, and really supporting mothers more so that they can be more unconditionally loving and feel supported to
have the space to unconditionally love. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, or not just mums too, but dads and communities, and, you know, they say it takes a community to raise a child.
Yeah, I agree. I talk about this a lot on the podcast because it stood out for me so much in Bali. There's so much about that. The village does raise the child. You know, their societal structure is that, you know, the man and wife get married, and then the man's parents and then the wife's parents all live in the same compound. Then they have kids, and then you don't send the kids, if they're young, you don't send them to daycare. The grandparents look after them at home while the parents go out and have to do the work, you know, to raise the money to support everyone. So it's so family based, you know, and I mean they don't even know what divorce is there. They have like the lowest divorce rate in the world because of, I think, those things, that unconditional love, and it's just not what you do. You just accept each other and tolerate each other. I mean, I'm sure there's special circumstances that can't allow that, but it just really resonated for me. Like, in our society, I feel like, you know, mum and dad both work these long hour jobs, and we put our kids, even from the youngest age, into daycare for 8 to 10 hours a day. We come home, we see them for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and then we put them to bed, and we start it all over again. And they're really being raised by strangers. And well, not strangers, because childcare workers are amazing as well, but it's not family and it's not the village.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a really...
And it's also out of your control what is being taught to your child. Whereas if it's in your community, in your circle, and you're present, then you are overseeing everything that is going on.
Exactly, yeah. Like you know what the value, like your values are being instilled, not someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I love it. Yeah. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling... Yeah,
it's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking, but it's great.
Tired?
I'm a bit of a talker, yeah.
I love that. I'm a bit of a talker too. It's a good thing. So listen, it's been epic. It's just been over an hour. And I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause that they want to advocate for. It could be like a charity or a social enterprise or even just a theme. And so what cause have you come with today?
Yeah, just for me, the mission is unconditional love.
Okay, I'm gonna put that right in your show notes. So Carmen advocates for unconditional love, and that will follow Carmen's episode across all of the platforms via the terriblehappytalks.com website, where you will find links to iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and whatever device you want to listen to it on. There'll be a platform that works. And now listen, I'm a small operation, but I've got a couple of little gifts for you today.
Oh, that's lovely.
for giving up your time and energy. The first one, it's not here with me, but the Australian distributor of Indosol will be sending you a pair of flip-flops or slides. Now, these are an awesome product because they're made from repurposed motor vehicle tyres. So they get motor vehicle tyres and turn them into shoes, and I just love that company for that. And the guys that run it, Kai and Chris Pappas, are just the best dudes ever. So thanks, Indosol. What size are you?
8.5.
8.5, gotcha. Women's 8.5, No worries. And the other thing is, I don't get too excited on this one, I have a small token of my appreciation, and I only give these to people that have been on the podcast. So you're now a Terrible Happy Talks alumni. You get the THT Circle logo sticker.
Beautiful.
Stick it where you want, but this will be episode 60. So there's only 60 of those around. So I don't know, stick it wherever you want. Stick it on one of your surfboards, I don't know. What was your first surfboard?
My first surfboard was $150. I remember the price, and it was a second-hand skip board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I think the skip board was one of my first boards as well.
Oh, yeah.
No way.
They were pretty popular they're still popular, yeah. Around this area, yeah.
Yeah, like everyone. There was a time there, like everyone rode a skip. Yeah. Were you sponsored by them as well?
Yeah, for a while there, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Chad Ryan boards.
Yeah, I remember I had Chad Ryan boards. Yeah. That's so cool. So that's about it. Like, I don't know, I'm just so grateful for your time and energy and your honesty, and it's been special.
And crazy.
Crazy's what's normal? Tell me what normal is.
Can't. No.
But I like what you said earlier about we are entering like a new normal. It's a crazy time in the world. Yep. So, listen, if you get onto the tectoniccoffee.com website and use the promo code THT, you'll get a discount on your coffee. Those guys deliver worldwide, best coffee ever. And also Indoso.com. They deliver very quickly. And if you buy a pair of shoes, you'll be supplying food to Balinese people who need it. So use promo code THT. Carmen, we done?
Happy, yeah, very happy.
High five. You. All right.
Thank you so much.
See ya. So
Bye, guys.
good. Bye.